The advocacy of religious people, properly coordinated, done in a sophisticated way, has over and over again made a big difference for hungry and poor people. We really do bend history.
Through legislation, you can help in one bill so many more people. And the consequences of how we legislate and the laws that we pass are profound.
We are our best when everyone is engaged. And insights and good decisions can only be made to the extent that everyone's story is told.
Making my voice known in Washington is something I can do. And it's something that I can do well. That doesn't mean that we win all the time. It doesn't mean that I leave Lobby Day every day and say, yes, we did it, we solved world hunger, because I don't think that that's the point. But I know that it changes me, and even on the hard days, I know that I'm part of something bigger.
CBS presents Religion, Politics, and Advocacy. The narrator is Ted Holmes.
Once this conversation really starts happening, the White House and the administration will be very, very engaged.
Here at Bread for the World Lobby Day in Washington, D.C., citizen advocates are learning how to lobby Congress.
Today is the day that we put our faith into action, that we take our message up to Capitol Hill.
It really helps to have hundreds of people come to Washington and all at once tell a lot of congressional offices that some hunger issue is important.
The reason I love Lobby Day so much is that it is really the day where people of faith put their advocacy into action. And that brings all those people together, whether it's trade.
Monica Mills is Director of Government Relations for Bread for the World and was recently named one of Washington's most influential grassroots lobbyists.
It's important for me to have relationships with members of Congress and with their staff. But what's really important and what really moves the button or moves the barometer is when they hear from their constituents.
Bread for the World is a Christian advocacy organization based in Washington, D.C. Their mission? To end hunger and poverty throughout the world. Art Simon, a Lutheran, started the organization in a church basement in Manhattan's Lower East Side 35 years ago.
I was concerned because coming from the Lower East Side, a very poor neighborhood, people in the congregation, often running out of food, began to ask, well, what can we do? And the idea of organizing people in the churches to use the gift of their citizenship on behalf of hungry people emerged. The more voices you have, the more impact you can make.
Today, Bread for the World has over 60,000 members and is one of the nation's most successful citizen lobbies on hunger.
We will change history a little bit today. Faith-based lobbying for hungry people is always uphill. We are always outgunned. Every time we start a campaign, people sort of pat us on the head and say, you're very nice, but this is just not what we're considering this year. It always happens. But, in fact, people of faith and conscience who contact their members of Congress, combined with sophisticated advocacy, over and over again, we win.
It's teaching Bread members that they have a role and a voice in advocacy. Going through a role play to kind of walk through what's going to happen at your meeting.
Congressman, what we'd like you to do is to please become a co-sponsor of H.R. 2139.
It requires both American taxpayers and recipients of U.S. foreign assistance to have full access of information so that it's very transparent and we can know that we're doing what we say we do.
It's teaching them how to call the member's office to schedule a meeting, how not to take no for an answer, how to be persistent.
The question was, my member of Congress already is a co-sponsor. After I thank them, is the conversation over? No, the conversation is never over.
Empowering them as well to take this message forth.
So putting that together, we have a voting bloc of 60 million people.
How many of them were in my district? I think you made a very valid point, too, about the fact that we do live now in a global economy and that
it is no longer culling the message down from something that is so incredibly complicated to something that you can convey from your heart because you can get it.
I can't tell you how important your being in Washington today
And hear an inspiring word from a member of Congress.
It's essential to everything that we're trying to do.
So are we sort of waiting for them to say thanks for coming?
After a morning workshop crafting their message, advocates walk to the Hill and meet their members of Congress.
Advocacy Days, where legislators meet directly with constituents who have come from their district, is the #1 most effective tool. It sticks with legislators. They think about it. They put names and faces and connect them with issues. And so it's not just an abstract set of numbers anymore. It's somebody in front of them making a plea.
Reverend L. Lasimba Gray is pastor of New Sardis Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. For the last 6 years, he's traveled to Washington to lobby his members of Congress for Bread for the World.
I think the most rewarding part is when you go back home and you read about a village in Africa that prior to Bread for the World getting involved was carrying bottles of water. And all of a sudden there's a well in that community, or there's a school in that community, or there are individuals who are learning how to farm more efficiently. Anytime you bring the Christian voice and consciousness together, I want to be a part of that, because what that is really putting our faith into action.
I didn't understand civic engagement really before I got involved with Bread for the World.
Elizabeth Henry started lobbying for Bread for the World 3 years ago.
I had never seen Christians who are motivated so deeply from their faith to seek justice. I didn't understand that when you vote, you have a voice and your members of Congress have to respond to you. If we can really change the institutions and the practices and the policies that are causing some of the poverty in our country and around the world, we can have a much greater impact.
In our political process, all of us can make a difference. You got to do it in a smart way, so it helps to be part of some kind of national campaign. It helps to have good information. It helps to be considerate. We think it helps to write a handwritten letter, or at least a personal letter with a clear return address. But there is no question that in this country, each of us has an opportunity to change history.
Every member of Congress wants to know what's going on in their congressional district, and they use advocacy campaigns as sort of a polling tool and a gauge. They'll be making a decision, let's say how many letters, how many emails, how many phone calls have we got. They'll know a number, but they'll also want to get that qualitative measurement, so they'll walk by the front desk and say, how mad are they? Are they going to end up at my home with torches and pitchforks? How bad is this? And absolutely, members of Congress, it's one of the myths out there, absolutely listen to constituent communications.
You're part of this country, you're part of this democracy, you're part of this world. And because of that, you have a voice that's important. And you may not think that you're the most qualified person, or you may not think that you're the most educated person, or the person who can make the most difference, but you have a story. When you tell that story, when you write a letter to your member of Congress, when you pick up the phone, when you meet with your member of Congress, they want to hear your stories.
I had an old professor tell me that either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Choose this day which you shall be. And I would say to those listening and those viewing this program, choose to be involved in changing and making life and the world better.
What we throw away, and the thousands of children die each and every day. Even though there's enough for everyone. There's more than enough for us, enough for everyone. There's enough for everyone. Yeah, there's more than enough for us, enough for everyone. Yes, our cup is overflowing, but we plow crops back into the
To purchase a DVD or video cassette of the CBS religion program, Religion, Politics, and Advocacy, please call 1-800-494-6007. That's 1-800-494-6007. Call now.